Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. Today we have another witchcraft related video. So the concept for this video is basically, I had been thinking a lot about how I've been getting a bit busier and I really want to figure out ways to sort of routinely incorporate witchcraft into my day-to-day life on a regular basis in like a manageable sort of way that fits my personal practice. And so this week I've been working on developing said routine essentially. And so I have a few sort of specific things I've outlined in terms of daily practices, weekly practices, and monthly practices. Only just a couple or 2 or 3 items on each list, but still, I made a routine. And my goal was to begin implementing this routine like this month and definitely this week. But I'm gonna be honest, I had my first week of like in-person shifts at my new job, which has been really cool and amazing, which no one really is interested in, but that's okay. But it also has taken a lot of my time and left me very tired at the end of the day, so I haven't really been able to dedicate. Sorry, I don't know if you guys heard that, but it's the maniacs who live in my town and like to drive really loudly with no muffler on or something, I don't know. Anyways, I didn't really get to incorporate my routine as much as I wanted to, but I still thought I'd go ahead and share these with you, and I am definitely going to keep trying and keep updating it as hopefully this becomes more manageable and I can add things to it even. But I just thought this was a helpful list, and I have incorporated some things already. So these are sort of new and old ideas for weekly practices or weekly, daily, and monthly practices that kind of you can incorporate to your regular life in a manageable way to still feel in touch with your craft. Or at least this is how I do it, like in terms of specifically for my practice and like the style I really like. But obviously you can and should modify anything you get in terms of advice from anywhere to suit your specific needs and beliefs. So let's get into it, shall we? First of all, let's start with some sort of things that I am trying to incorporate daily into my routine, like to do every single day. The first one I have on my list as like a daily practice I'm trying to incorporate is a morning intention setting with stirring into my coffee. So this is kind of something I feel like is commonly recommended in terms of like easy things to implement, but I feel like that's for a reason, because it is really manageable and doable, but like sort of a strong ritual in an easy way. But basically, I see a lot recommended to do with a cup of tea, but I'm not really a tea drinker, I'm a coffee drinker. So I was like, I'm not gonna convince myself to drink a cup of tea. It's more manageable if I do it with coffee. I basically just, after I pour my creamer and my coffee and stuff in my mug, I stir it with a spoon. Clockwise. It basically like invites your intentions and it's like manifesting. So you basically stir your drink of choice clockwise, or if you want, you could, I guess, do counterclockwise and say things that you don't want to happen that day. But I think the idea is basically you stir clockwise and you just either say to yourself in your head or out loud. Some people say it's more powerful if you do it out loud, but you know. You say to yourself like things that you want to be true about the day, like as if they're already true in a way. Like, with this drink I stir in creativity, focus, and relaxation throughout my day. And like that's that you know. I think kind of the point of this is thinking about what sorts of qualities you're gonna need for the day, and then using that as a sort of meditative, just little manifestation ritual. And if you want, you can invoke some spirits or guides or whatever, but you know, if you don't have time for that, I think just the act in itself and the ritual of stirring is powerful in its own way. So that's that. Okay, number 2 isn't exactly something you do, like it's this is so funny because of my job. I want to describe this as, for some reason I want to describe this as sort of a continuous practice as opposed to a discontinuous practice, as in it occurs continuously throughout the day as opposed to it has a distinct beginning and end point, onset and offset. That was too confusing, I'm really sorry, let me just explain. throughout my day being really mindful and keeping an eye out for signs and omens that have come to me, such as like repeating motifs I may have noticed, or something like unusual and strange happening out of the blue or appearing that might have some sort of meanings. So basically the idea behind this is to just stay open to things that like the spirits in the world may be telling you throughout your day, and then at the end of the day, like, and observe that, and at the end of the day or throughout your day, but I try to like do it consciously, like and intentionally at the end, just like sort of analyze those signs a little bit, and you can seek guidance in a number of ways. But if you want, you can just kind of like journal about it, or even just think about it and like what it might mean, and that's basically it. And I just feel like it's a really simple way to sort of keep that in touch, like keep in touch with the sort of like spiritual awareness all day long in a way that's really manageable. So okay, the last one I have is the one that I've been the worst at implementing so far, but I'm still trying to do because I do feel like it just makes me feel better when I accomplish it, and that's basically saying like just like a gratitude or like prayer if you're into that, but sort of just like a statement at the end of your day about like what you're thankful for. And I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but it's honestly a really integral part of like most spiritual practices, and if you look into it, you can really understand why. And I also just think that if you are in the realm of sort of like revering any sort of like spiritual guides or saints or sort of thing like that, it's just like good practice to be appreciative and like mindful about what you're thankful for, and not take things for granted, because I feel like that's how people can go down bad paths. It can really, beyond like the witchcraft realm, like it's just good in terms of like mindfulness to like be aware of what good things you have and like be grateful for them. But I also just really think that it enhances that like spiritual relationship. On to section 2, we've got weekly magical routines. The first one is what's called a smoke limpia, or a smoke limpia in this case, and that's actually just like the brujeria term for cleansing of sorts. So with a smoke cleansing or a smoke limpia, you basically are just going to find something to burn. What that is depends on like who you are and what you're using it for. Some people use sage, some people use Palo Santo. Both are semi-controversial, but I think it's sort of up to individual discretion and context. And then you can also just use incense if you like don't have access to like any specific sorts of like dried herbs or things that are specifically made for burning, like a cleansing ritual. Incense works well as well. You can even choose between different types of incense depending on what space you might be cleansing, or like the importance of it, or what you're using it for. Lemongrass in particular is what I usually use for its cleansing properties. And basically the idea behind this is once a week to just light whatever it is you're using to cleanse and walk around your space and your altar, your tools, whatnot. And I like to do like the space first, and focus extra on like the corners and like the windows is what I've heard is good practice, because that's where a lot of negative energy likes to gather. And you just sort of go around. Some people go clockwise, or some people go counterclockwise, I think, to like be banishing or whatever. And you can just say whatever you want. Like most people write their own thing. I think I tend to say something like, with this smoke, all negative energy is banished and only positivity remains, or something like that. So mote it be. Thank you, spirits and saints, etc., etc. Yeah, you can basically use this on whatever, whenever, but I've been trying to do it once a week. Again, haven't really been succeeding, especially because it's been raining and my altar was outside previously. I've been trying to move it inside, and that's sort of been a little bit of a barrier as well. But there's been literally a bomb cyclone or 2 bomb cyclones spinning around each other in my area. So anyways, then the second one is something I used to do more often, and I've been trying to get back into the practice of it, but I was pretty good about it for a while, which is a tea light intention setting ceremony. So this is something that's really simple and manageable to do as like a really quick ritual practice, and I try to do it like at the beginning of each week, and it's similar to the coffee intentions like thing, but with a tea light sort of. So you can just use a plain white tea light by itself, and that's the only ingredient you need. If you have more time and energy and materials, you can add things like anointing it with oils or even spell oils. You can add herbs into the wax. Basically, you are to state your intentions for the week in a ceremonial way, in whatever way feels right to you. And it might be something like, this week I am succeeding at my new job, I am getting along with my family, I am happy and healthy, and I feel rested and excited for the future, something like that, whatever. And then you might invoke certain spiritual guides or saints if that's what you're into. Again, it could just be the tea light by itself. And then you let it burn, and you make sure it just burns to the bottom. That's that. So what would it be? Okay, so section number 3, we have monthly magic practices. Again, I only have 2 items, and they're kind of related this time, and this weather is actually a kind of good weather to demonstrate in, so even though it's not the designated time I'd like to do this regularly, I will probably go ahead and demonstrate for you. So the first monthly practice I'm trying to start doing is collecting rainwater, and again, this doesn't have to be inherently tied to witchcraft, but for me, it is because I'm using that rainwater for making like moon water and such. And for spell work in general. So basically, I just think water that you're using in your craft, or water that I'm using in my craft, it feels a lot more powerful, potent, and like even just more like correct if it is like from the earth in a natural sort of way, whether it's like the ocean, the river, or rain, and they actually all have sort of different properties depending on where you look and who you ask and what you believe in. But I think that rainwater is a pretty potent and powerful source, and it is coming out of the sky all the time in the area where I live, so I want to start harnessing that energy and using it in my work. Basically, the idea is to place out something on the new moon every month that can collect the rainwater all month, and just to let it gather there. I suppose you could take from it when you need, but I'd like to set out like a nice big container. I'm not sure if I can do that yet, but I'll definitely try and set out a little something at least. But basically just collect water all month, and then every new moon you can harvest the water that you've collected. Basically, the first idea is just to collect rainwater every month, and then the second idea is charging your moon water every month. So on this idea, I actually wanted to be able to charge it twice a month. So I want to mark on my calendar new moons and full moons, because those are pretty much the most powerful and worth it in terms of charging stuff. So I'm planning to collect rainwater and use it on new moons and set it out to charge it for renewal energy and such, fresh starts, anything that needs the power of change and blank slates. And then for the full moon, I'm also going to try and charge some water that I've collected, because it is well known to be the most potent of the moon cycles, and it is effective for all sorts of uses. So that's basically all I have so far in terms of my ideas for regular magic practice routines. I really do want to add even more ideas to this. One thing I was kind of thinking about is trying to do salt protections and stuff around my house and my car and stuff on a regular basis, but the tough thing about this, again, is I live with so many other people right now, and some of this stuff I really can't fully implement until I have my own space completely, but you do what you can, and that's what this whole video is about. But either way, I hope that this maybe inspired you or helped you in some way. If it didn't, that's okay. Maybe you have some ideas for me. If you have any ideas on some practical, manageable ways you can routinely implement your practice of witchcraft, magic, brujeria, etc., I would love to hear them in the comments. Either way, I really hope you enjoyed this, and I really thank you for sticking around to the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, I have several other videos on similar topics, and also a bunch of other videos on completely unrelated but equally interesting and funny topics, depending on who you're asking on my channel, so maybe check that out if you're interested. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day!